What's going on, everybody? Hey, we got a special guest with us this evening, Mr. Jeff Warner from the Pennsylvania Federation of Black Powder Shooters. What's going on, buddy?
Not much. How you making out?
Oh, I think we finally got this damn thing working.
Little
I hope.
trial and error is all right.
But yeah, we're going to talk about some. One of my favorite sports is shooting flintlocks, black powder, and you guys have an organization that you guys shoot with this stuff. So we will start from the very beginning of how you, as a young man, started hunting.
Like a lot of Pennsylvanians, my grandfather got me hunting whenever I was 12, which was right around 2002. We put in heat on. We live on a decent. Well, we don't own any property, but
Yeah, it's not about how many you kill.
no.
It's about the time you spend out there, and shooting a
Right.
flintlock is like the best part of it all, because there's so many things that can happen.
Oh yeah, I've shot it, especially with my flintlock. So whenever
Right.
a terminal ballistic, you get shot placements.
Yeah. So, what caliber do you use? And are you shooting a patch round ball? You shooting a buffalo bullet?
I'm multi-caliber. It's a long barrel. It's got a 42-inch barrel, so it's the rifling is pretty slow. So it's built for patch round ball. I'm actually going to have it freshed out to a 52. That's why I'm having it freshed out.
Okay.
495 balls with 18 thousandths.
Yeah, yeah. I've had guys ask me that all the time. How you load that thing so fast when you're out in the woods? You got to match the patch with the ball, and sometimes it's a little better to go a little smaller, and that way everything works quick.
Whenever I'm shooting it on the range, I'm shooting for 10 rings, and I'm shooting.
Yeah. So when you guys do these, I guess let's talk about the organization.
Yeah.
I mean, you can join. I see there's a membership.
Yep. To start off with, the Federation has been around even prior and during that creating muzzleloading guns. So the Federation put a kind of what we're about, the state champion.
So as an individual, I can shoot at any of these shoots without being a member, or do I have to be a member?
No, you could go shoot. You live at least half.
So your shoots are paper, or are they? Because I've been to a few where you're shooting at like cylinders and
that depends. That depends on the specific the gun paper. That kind of a lot of that. That's a little bit.
So now these clubs, are there any of them down this way, like down my way down here in Greensburg area?
Let me grab my book here, State. Sample with border.
Okay, I've been to what is it, Clarion?
Yeah, Clarion. Yeah, no. If I had.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be some really good advertising for a lot of these, because I mean there's a lot of guys that don't realize that this even exists where you can go shoot these like you do a bow every weekend.
Oh yeah, and there are that shoot them.
Yeah, I mean, my grandfather introduced me to it a long time ago, and I've been hooked on it ever since, And I'm going to be completely honest with you, I was always a guy that said, never in my life will I own an inline. Well, I watch a lot of Jim Shockey, and I seen Jim Shockey shooting all kinds of animals with that inline, and I'm like, well, you know what? It's still a one-shot deal.
Yep. Yeah, you get one chance. That's it.
It's still black powder. I can shoot a little farther,
Right.
And I've been to some of those shoots with my flintlock. I use a mountain rifle, so it's not a long rifle. It's a short rifle, and we've had to shoot 200 yards at a cylinder.
That's tough.
And I shoot my gun a lot, and will I ever shoot at a deer 200 yards? No. The farthest I shoot a deer, and I did this year, was 97 yards. I shot the biggest buck of my life with my flintlock. So,
that's awesome.
A 30-year goal was set. That my grandfather's gun, 30 years, I missed a lot of bucks. That was the first buck I killed with the flintlock. Now that gun will be retired. When the deer's mounted, it'll be mounted on the same post with the deer, And I was up at Morris Muzzleloaders a couple weekends ago, and looking at new guns. I told the wife, I said, I got to buy a new gun now. I said, no. I can't use this no more.
Oh, we got to get you into it.
Yeah, I wanted to buy the Shenandoah, the kit,
Yeah, yeah.
and build it myself because I built the 50 caliber trapper pistol 2 years ago, and I wanted to shoot a doe in the worst way this year with it. Every opportunity I got to shoot at a doe, there was 15 or 20 other deer with it, and I would move, and they would all,
All gone.
yeah, bust me, and it was all
Yeah.
over. So
I would suggest
okay,
they come
okay,
out. It doesn't require a custom quality.
okay,
Bring the
okay,
their rice
okay.
last time. He makes them.
Yeah, I got into the gun that I have that was my grandfather's. He built that gun,
Yeah.
and I figured, you know what, I'm going to buy one of these pistols and try it, and I enjoyed it. I mean, it took me all summer. I
Yeah.
worked on a little bit here, a little bit there. And I had access to a machine shop, so like when certain things didn't fit, I could take it to work and get them guys to machine it just a little bit to make everything work,
There's nothing.
and then I mean, the thing shoots like a dream. I mean, it goes off every time you pull the trigger, and I'm shooting patch round ball out of it,
I shoot with it.
Yep. Like I said, I wanted the Shenandoah, but they quit making that kit. So now I guess I'm going to have to check that other kit out that you were talking about. Okay. Okay. So most of the guys that shoot in the state and stuff like that, for these competitions, are they using guns that they built or are they using manufactured guns?
Well, you'd actually be surprised at the amount of, especially the guys that just start out. Lyman Grape, in fact, a fancy, expensive. He's our treasurer for bear stock with no finish on it, no but I mean, he.
Now, do you guys shoot factory round balls? You make your own? I know I got cast to make my own.
Yeah, well, I try to do as much as I can. Any 490s cast, those 490 round capable of shooting lots of guys.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing with the patch round ball is there's a lot of deer a lot of does that I have shot and seen the impact, but never get the pass through and have a hell of a time finding blood. I mean, they die within sight most of the time, but it's just that, I mean, once, you're casting your own, so it's kind of soft lead to begin with.
Yeah.
A little softer than, factory load or factory round ball. And I think it's expanding as soon as it hits a rib or something like that. It's pretty much flattened out. Yep. And, I've heard the horror stories of a lot of guys telling me, I'll never hunt with a flintlock again. I watched the impact and I watched the flattened bullet hit the ground and I walked over and picked it up. Not a hair, not a drop of blood. No, that's,
No. Yeah, I've had it but
yeah.
It's not, you don't hear of a lot of guys shoot.
Right. Yeah.
So
back to the competitions. Do you have to attend so many? Do you get invited to the main shoot at the end of the year, or how does that work?
It's typically all. I try to get really fairly open, fairly easy going for the state team. There are a couple of shoots.
Do they? When you say you can come out and buy a target, so you can buy in at any of these shoots and shoot, basically.
Yeah. So you're at. Some people do it, and then you shoot your matches. It is multiple targets that you take.
Okay.
We even
so in these shoots too. Is it flintlock and percussion cap, or do you have them divided up? Like there's a group for flintlock, and then there's a group just for percussion.
Your average what type of hard on inlines?
Okay.
At the state.
That's going to be my next gun to play around with. Is I want to get into the black powder revolvers.
That's a rabbit.
Yeah. This whole black powder thing altogether has been a rabbit hole. I mean, I guess we should kind of talk about a load. What powder? I mean, if this is somebody who's never done this before.
Oh, yeah.
I use Goiaks. I don't know how much longer because I'm starting to get pretty low on it and it's getting hard to find.
Well, there's there's getting the isn't where they make their money. So they're trying to fulfill their obligation to the government first. Last I heard.
So what powder do you use?
We shoot. You can something like 777. Telling someone who is a newcomer what it's imported. GoX would have been the comparative muzzle. Some people say Schutzen. I don't see that.
Okay.
But also necessarily.
Yeah.
Schutzen also makes Swiss powder. which is popular Swiss burn.
Yeah. Okay.
It's typically since go at.
I think I got some Schutzen, and I know I definitely got some Swiss.
Yeah. Swiss is good stuff. Like I said, it burns a little hotter. Where in my 50 caliber I shoot, or I'm sorry, 7.
Now, see, there's another rabbit hole we can get into because I get into it at the clubs all the time when I'm shooting mine. Guys will say, "Well, you're not putting very much powder down that barrel." I don't need a whole lot of
Right.
powder to hit my target at 100 yards and still
Yeah.
have effective knockdown power that I want.
All right.
You know?
And there's a bit size to it. You get it. He runs a 20,000 thick patch with but
Yeah, I don't know how many of them things I go through. You know. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it done. I've been down the range and seen one blow out the end of a gun, and the guy just looked at me. He's like, "I think I just thought, yeah, you just did it."
typically if the words I think I did, that means you did out of there.
I've had guys tell me, "Oh, I loaded. I know I put a ball in there, but my ramrod's going down not." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, the easiest thing to do is to mark the ramrod. When you know you've got a good load in there, mark your ramrod. I mean, took my knife, did a circle around my ramrod, so I know exactly where I'm packed tight.
Yep.
And yes, I've done it. I've stuck a ball in there in a patch with no powder,
Oh,
and then sit there and feed the powder through the touch hole to get enough in there just to watch the ball roll out the end of it.
And sometimes they either don't shoot that.
Yeah.
That's he still. We're pretty tough, but it's all in fun. You can show up something.
Right.
I'm not gonna. Yeah. And as far as there's nothing. That's one shoot we have junior and sub teaching. We every year shooting.
Yeah, I've always said that women are a lot easier to teach to shoot than men.
Oh my goodness, yes.
We have bad habits. We know we have bad habits, and we don't change them. Where a woman, you can tell her she's doing something wrong, and she's going to listen to you and take advice, and she'll change.
They're far more patient.
Yeah.
That's what husband-wife day.
Yeah, right.
And that's
right. Yeah. Well, we might as well go there because I know I've been asked a million times about this new change with the season. What do I think about it? How do I feel about it? I kind of basically said it in the beginning. They got one shot, just like I got one shot with my flintlock. I hunt in 2B, so I am hunting with guys that are using high-powered rifles at the same time I'm in the woods with my flintlock. So to me, I don't have a problem with them adding the inline to the regular muzzleloader season after Christmas. But in a way, I kind of would wish they would leave the rest of the state alone. Leave it in the special regulation areas where you can hunt with a slug gun, you can hunt with a rifle. If you want to take your inline out after Christmas, take it out after Christmas, and leave it that you're only allowed to shoot those with those specific rifles. Don't let them come into that traditional end of it through the rest of the state. Use the special regulation areas for it. That's my personal opinion, and I've had a bunch of crap for my personal opinion on this podcast for the last 6 years. So I really don't care. I'm going to say what I feel, and that's the way I feel about it.
And that's all you can. Pennsylvania hunting,
yes.
Love, and that's a good thing. And so. I can understand whether you want to say according to the game to keep. It's just numbers. I have nothing against the archery guys at all. From their point of view, if they had to encroach on a season, it's just facts is the other forms of killing deer. It makes sense to, and I don't the regular rifle season. The addition of longer rifle season into the late.
Right.
So whenever so we had to pick a part of the year that it was going to be worthy of our effort to make a change. You got cross, you guys got food plot. But if I was that the archery, the fact of the matter is,
I'm a bow hunter. I'll be, I'm out there September when the season starts, and I hunt all the way up until the day before gun season starts. Like I said, I'm in 2B, but I also hunt public land, 2D, 2C, and I don't have any problem, I mean, Gary, hey, come October, if on my deer lease, if I still have, if I'm having a buck that's changing his pattern on me and I can't get this thing in, trust me, if I could take my flintlock out for a week and knock him down, I'm
Oh,
all
that'd be
for it.
great.
I'm
Yeah,
all
yeah.
for it. Let me do it. I'll take a week. I mean, I take a week off now and go to all the public land and hunt does with the flintlock because I've
Yeah.
been on public land for the last 2 years doing like a little, where I started hunting from on public land. You go to these places and there's nobody using it, nobody utilizing it. You
Right.
know, I
Yeah.
spent a lot of time last year out at Loyal Hannah, places I grew up hunting when I was 12 years old, and I'm jumping bucks the whole week of that inline season
Mm-hmm.
where I'm just standing there scratching my head like, are you kidding me? I mean,
Cool. And I run into that. You see a nice buck,
yeah,
and push saying, well, we need to mentor a young child. In October, ice storms and
yeah,
15 degrees.
yeah.
People interested. Age of a hunter is 47. The average age of,
I mean, both of my children, my son, he's 32 years old. He muzzleloader hunted maybe 3 or 4 times when he was 13, 14 years old. He just didn't. It was too cold for him. He didn't like it. My daughter, she don't like it. She hates it. She don't want to be out there when it's freezing cold. She won't even climb up in a tree stand and bow hunt that time of year. So I mean,
well, and it's tough because I hunt by myself close to a game lands in 4D here. Come late season, it's tough for me to get into a good spot where I in the regular rifle season, which I do. But like I said earlier, I don't necessarily
the numbers are
the
privilege.
numbers to exactly to say, well, if I can't get within 50 yards, I kind of got to keep hunting with my modern rifle like this. And that was one time, and I did shoot him at just a hair under 200 yards. I never would have. Me personally, fortunate if I was to take my time. I think that your opportunity in October, it gauged. There was big, huge doe, and they walk up on it, and bam, he just.
Right.
So, I am getting the game commission.
Right.
Seasons are just.
Well, I mean, we're still here. We are. How many years ago did they start the whole Sunday deal?
Oh yeah, we're still going back and forth.
We're still back and forth. You hear every year, oh, it's going to happen next year. It's going to happen next year.
Well, and they tried to hide a whole bunch of other shading that Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I said this before, and I'll say it again. The wardens that are out there doing the patrolling and doing the talking to the public are not the guys who make the regulations.
All right.
They are the guys who enforce the laws. Their job is a pain in the ass because they don't know who they're coming up against.
Well, yeah, I
They're
don't
coming up to you. And my daughter's a police officer, so I'm all about supporting the law. And I have nothing to hide from any game warden. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, there's no reason to badmouth them or give them a hard time. Now, the legislators and the other clowns that make the laws, yes, I got a problem with them because 99% of them don't hunt. They sit back and well, we don't. You know what? We don't need Sunday hunting. We don't need this. You're controlling the population just fine. Let's give them birth control. How's about you step down from your legislative job and let somebody in there
knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, let people handle this that know what they're doing. Leave the biologists do their numbers like they do. I've had every biologist for the Game Commission on this podcast. They all are passionate about their job. They're not just throwing numbers out there. They're doing studies.
Right.
So I agree with you guys. We should have something a little earlier so that guys get that opportunity. I mean, I got lucky. I killed a hell of a buck, with a flintlock. Will it ever happen again? Probably not.
I mean, I'm not saying that it's not possible. I know a lot of guys that do. They do well with, the way it works out. Your average guy, you're just your enthusiast in one specific thing or not, is going to hunt with what he is allowed to hunt with. So your average guy, if he's allowed to. So if I can get this pushed through, if you can, if that means to get his short starters, anything to do.
Yeah.
so that it a little bit.
Yeah.
Either start that a week. We came up on the. We're not out fall. A lot of our. I think. So what they love. I find myself obstacles.
Yep.
Weather affects us terribly. Wind affects us terribly. I can shoot a bit.
Yeah.
As a hunter and help.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, I personally, I mean, me personally, I wish they would give us a 3-day black bear season that we can just hunt with the flintlock.
Well, and you know what? They that bear season.
Yeah.
So that was actually a bit refreshing.
Yeah.
It's easy to fall into the biologist's point of view.
Yep. I mean, I talked to Emily. I had Emily on here, and when we talked, her numbers, you watch the news, and it's always they had a record bear kill, in bear season. Well, I'm going to be the first person to tell you I quit hunting in PA for bears when my grandfather passed away. I went to Canada. I killed a bear in Canada. I was happy. I killed a black bear. I scratched that off my list. I did it with a bow. I was happy. So last year, some buddies of mine invited me to go back to PA bear hunting with them. And I went the first day with them. It was miserable, raining, sleeting. We were up on the mountain. Them guys were all done by 10 o'clock. I stayed out there, miserable, wet. I said, I'm done. My one day for the year. I'm happy. Well, I went Sunday, hunted by myself, got on a set of bear tracks and followed him. I seen him 3 times. All I got to see was his butt at 200 or 300 yards, but still, I got to see him. I'd never seen a PA black bear when I was hunting them when I was younger. So that made me go. I went to work at 1 o'clock in the morning. I got done at noon the next 2 days, and I hunted from noon until dark. So now my thing this year is I'm taking those 4 days off of work, and I'm bear hunting. And I'm using, depending on the weather, my flintlock or my inline. One of those two are going to kill a bear this year, and I'm going to put the time in to make it happen.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
And if it's on drives, it's on drives with a bunch of guys. I'll be the first to tell you, I have a ball after Christmas when we get 10 or 15 guys together and we go put on muzzleloader deer drives.
Good drive, yeah.
It is great. Do we kill deer? Absolutely not. We might get 1 or 2. And those are the ones, and probably the deer that weigh 70 pounds that run up and stop.
That's what I learned that.
Yeah.
Don't shoot that one.
and my buddies are like, my God, I can't believe you shot that. Well, guess what? It stopped. And it's a small target. Try hitting a small target at 45 yards.
Yeah,
with this
right. It's tough. Yeah, that was
like,
the first. The very first deer I killed luckily it was with my Pabst. Never leaves our.
Yeah. Well, buddy, we've been on about an hour now.
Yeah.
If you want to let everybody know where they can look up the Federation, they can look you up. They got questions or whatever to reach out to you guys.
Oh, we love you can any Facebook or Instagram. It's the Pennsylvania Federation of Black Powder Shooters. If you go to your social media, you'll find it there. It's pinned. We will be at the Gushin going at the station. I'm pretty. You'll see me.
I believe that's how I actually got in touch with you, was through the Federation, I believe.
Yeah. So it was probably one of
it was something like that, how I got in touch with you. And
they typically get people see you.
Yeah.
But, there is a lot of guys.
No, if there's anything I can do to help out with it.
No, buddy, you're doing more than you know right now.
We'll talk as soon as this podcast is over. We'll talk a little bit more about it.
Me being able to be on here really gets our name out there and gets you.
Yeah. Well, let me run through the sponsors list and we'll call this an episode.
Sure.
Just hang tight. We'll run down through these real quick.